Hi class, this is a continuation of our video regarding the domain and range of rational functions. But specifically, we are going to find the domain and range given a graph. Domain of a function is the set of all values of the variable x can take, and range of a function is the set of all values f of x can take. Now, let's have our example number 4. This is just a continuation ng ating mga previous examples from previous videos. So, this part naman, we are going to find the range of a rational and range and domain of a rational function given a graph. So, again, domain talks about the set of all values of x. So, ibig sabihin, we are going to try to examine our x-axis. So, this is our x-axis, no? By examining or by looking at our x-axis, you can assess kung saang part po ba or may part po ba na hindi na-cross yung ating graph. So, if this is our graph, ayan, this is the graph of our rational function. Meron po bang siyang part dito sa ating x-axis na hindi tinamaan ng ating graph? Ayan. Kung titingnan mo po, mayroon bang part? Ito yung ating table. Ito yung graph ng ating function. Then this one also is the graph of our function. With respect to your x-axis, obviously, you can observe that when you graph papuntang 0, no? At point 0, mapapansin mo na yung graph mo po ay umiwas. It is just getting closer but not touching your x is equal to 0. So therefore, this will be the restriction of your domain. So your domain now is the set of x such that x is the set of real numbers where x is not equal to 0, or that is negative infinity 0 union of 0 comma positive infinity. Now, how about the range? The range is the y. The y or yung f of x ng ating functions. So, ibig sabihin, ang titingnan mo naman this time is the y-axis. With respect to your y-axis, ayan, titingnan po natin yung ating y-axis. With respect to your y-axis, anong part or anong point particularly dun sa yung y-axis na kung saan hindi na siya sinamahan or tinamaan kapag may mag-draw ka ng line or imaginary line, ano yung iniwasan ng iyong graph? Ayan. Ito yung graph natin, no? Papuntang negative, obviously, lahat ng y values okay. Then, papuntang positive, as it increases, wala naman. Wala, lahat na-cover. However, mapapansin mo na parang between on this particular line, mapapansin mo na umiwas yung iyong graph. So, that is line at point at your x at your 0, 4. 'Di ba? Or yung sa y is equal to 4. So, dito yan. Specifically, in this line, kung magdodraw ka ng imaginary line, mapapansin mo na yung iyong graph is getting closer but not touching your y is equal to positive 4. So, therefore, that is now the limitation of your range. So, your range is y such that y is the set of real number where y is not equal to positive 4. Or negative infinity, positive 4, union of positive 4, comma, positive infinity. So that's it po for our example number 4. Let's have another example. Let's find the domain and range of the given graph. So if we have our graph, which is f of x is equal to 2x minus 3 all over x squared. So, ito yung kanina example natin from our previous video. Titingnan lang natin kung nagtutugma po ba yung ating mga binigay na domain and range dun sa ating pinaka makukita sa graph. So, for the domain, again, you're going to look at the x-axis. So, anong part ng x-axis mo? Yung kung saan yung naging behavior ng iyong graph ay umiwas sila at hindi siya natamaan or hindi siya matatouch ng iyong pinaka-graph. So, ito yung ating x-axis, no? Ayan. Yung x-axis natin. Examine natin at all points or all parts of our x-axis na kung saan tumama ba yung graph. So, obviously, dito mapapansin mo na may values na nagko-correspond to the x. Ayan. And then, sa positive din, mapapansin mo, meron din. However, specifically, in line x is equal to 0, mapapansin mo that your graph, ayan, at x is equal to 0, your graph is approaching, however, it does not touch your graph. So therefore, you can conclude that this is the restriction of your domain. So your x, such that x is the set of real numbers where x is not equal to 0 or negative infinity, 0, union of 0, positive infinity. Next, punta naman po tayo sa range. So, sa range, titingin tayo ngayon sa ating y-axis. So, if this is your y-axis, ayan, this is our y-axis, titingnan natin yung mga values na nandito sa ating y-axis. So, pag tiningnan mo yung positive, ay sa negative muna tayo, mapapansin mo na commonly, napansin mo yung graph mo, andun sa negative part ng iyong table. 'Di ba? Or ng iyong Cartesian plane. So, lahat sila until dito lang. Then, papunta na increasing, approaching this specific imaginary line. However, dun sa isa naman, as they approach papunta sa 0, they are increasing or decreasing rather without bound. Pero dito, hanggang dyan lang, nag-increase lang sila. They are coming closer to this specific line. And if you can still recall, na-solve na natin last time, kanina sa video, yung value ng ating y. At ang y nga po natin is not greater than 1/3. Ito yung restriction natin, no? So, check natin kung ito yung ating 0 origin at ito ang ating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At this specific daw, part or yung specific point sa iyong y. So, 1/3 po na value, positive 1/3 ng iyong y. Mapapansin mo na yung graph mo will only approach but will not. Ayan, actually, nag-touch din siya. Nag-touch din siya. However, mapapansin mo the rest of the solutions or the part of the graph is below. So that is why the restriction po ng iyong y is the values that are greater than 1/3. So hindi siya part ng iyong range. So therefore, your y is an element of a real number pa din. However, your y is not greater than 1/3. Ayan. Next po, we have naman the graph of f of x is equal to x minus 2 all over x plus 2. So, ito po yun, no? Yung graph natin. Then, dito, ito yung ating origin. Ito ang ating y-axis, yung ends niya. Y-axis. At ang ating x-axis. Ayan. Ito ang ating x-axis, ha? So, this time, mapapansin nyo na may line na siya. May line na yan. So, mas madali nating malalaman in this picture na meron tayong mga limitations or may mga restriction ang ating domain and range. So, tingin tayo muna sa ating domain. So, obviously, kung titingnan mo yung domain mo, ayan, mapapansin mo sa positive side, lahat naman, as your x increases, lahat siya magkakaroon ng value in your real number at magkakaroon ka ng one-to-one relationship. And then, mapapansin mo, dito, as your x decreases, magkakaroon ka rin ng real number solution na your f of x mo. However, ayan, mapapansin mo na meron siyang part na kung saan yung iyong graph approaches this line, pero it increases dito sa left side, increases without bound and decreases without bound. So, at specifically daw sa range mo wherein your x is equal to negative 2, nagkaroon ka ng restriction. So, a-approach lang siya. Your x will approach it, but it will not touch your x is equal to negative 2. So, therefore, your x here is the set of real numbers such that x is not equal to negative 2. Then, tingin tayo sa range natin. Ang range naman po natin ay sa y-axis makikita. So, mapapansin mo na from y-axis, negative, ayan, decreasing, meron siya. Meron din siyang mga values. And then, mapapansin mo dito, meron din. However, ayan, with respect to your x-axis din, mapapansin mo na, ayan, at y is equal to 1, ayan o, y, at your y is equal to 1, mapapansin mo na as your x increases without bound, it gets closer to your y is equal to 1. So, as your x naman decreases, ayan, or yung yung y mo, ayan o, hindi niya ina-approach yung y is equal to 1 mo, hanggang dito lang siya. So, as your x increases, ayan, it gets closer to your y is equal to 1. However, hindi siya natatouch. So, you can conclude that the line y is equal to 1 is the restriction of your range. And that is y, element of a real number, such that y is not equal to 1. So, ayan po ang ating range. And lastly, ayan, meron tayong line which is, this is the graph daw of f of x is equal to x squared minus 3x minus 4 all over x plus 1. You might wonder, ma'am, bakit po linear yan? You have to recall that f of x is equal to x squared minus 3x minus 4. You can simplify this one, right? Diba, sinimplify natin to kanina. And when you simplify kasi, this one, your f of x will be x plus 1 times x minus 4 over x plus 1. Then, you can cancel out yung iyong x plus 1. So, ang f of x mo na lang ay magiging x minus 4. So, therefore, most likely, magkakaroon ka ng linear. Pero nandun pa rin naman po yung idea ng ating domain and range. Or mayroon pa rin tayong mga restriction kahit naka-linear siya. So, specifically daw, yung magiging domain mo naman still, mapapansin mo sa origin. Ito yung origin, no? Ito to. Ayan. Lagyan na lang natin ng markings. At your origin, ayan, lagyan natin ng ends yung ating x and y axis. At your origin, mapapansin mo, ayan o, lahat naman may value as you go along to your x, infinity, and your negative infinity, may corresponding value siya ng y mo. E din, ganun din naman sa y. 'Di ba? However, as you can observe din sa equation, may domain tayo which is x plus 1. So, therefore, at one point of your x daw, magkakaroon ka ng restriction. So, dito, at point negative 1, 0, negative infinity, comma, negative 1, union of negative 1, comma, positive infinity. That is your domain. And your range, ayan, ito yung negative 1 mo at point, ayan, kung saan nag-cross po sila ng iyong isang linya, ayan. Dito po sa point na yan, actually dapat parang butas na circle. O yung pag dinraw mo yan sa diagram, ganito yan. Yang ating negative 1, comma 5. Kasi, negative 5 rather. Negative 5. Kasi at that specific point, ay magkakaroon ka ng loop or hindi siya kasama sa set of domain and range mo. So, dito, you will have negative infinity, negative 5, union of negative 5, positive infinity. So, that's it po for domain and range of a rational function.